SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast discusses topics which are relevant to the everyday lives of seniors and their caregivers. We are joined by experts who share their knowledge on a variety of issues. SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast offers solutions and resources to create the best quality of life as we age. And now, let's welcome your host, Darlene Mahoney.
SeniorLivingGuide.com is the most comprehensive online resource for seniors and their caregivers. We provide details on senior living communities to include retirement, assisted living, independent living, skilled nursing, memory care, as well as senior resources, home and healthcare solutions, all in one easy-to-navigate website, allowing you to decide which best fits your needs and connect you directly in one easy step. Visit us online at SeniorLivingGuide.com and start your search today. And I would like to express our gratitude to our podcast sponsors, Transmed Care Long Distance Medical Transportation and GoGo Grandparent. When a loved one with a disability or medical condition needs to relocate, Transmed Care is here to help with safe and secure nationwide medical transport services, while GoGo Grandparent provides reliable local rides, no smartphones required, with all drivers and vehicles screened to meet your mobility needs. Check us out at SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. We are making sure that our seniors are getting exactly where they need to go. And today we are joined by Frank Evigan. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Spring Oak Senior Living. He is dedicated and results-driven senior living executive with more than 13 years of leadership experience across independent living, assisted living, as well as memory care. I am super excited to have you join our podcast today, Frank. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me today, Darlene.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I have been talking a little bit. You have a big heart for family-owned communities and smaller communities. And I love that because I think that's such a opportunity for people to kind of explore. And sometimes we really don't understand what that is. And even if it's available or an option for our loved one. So a little bit about a smaller community. This was something that you were a little bit passionate about. And that's why you kind of got into it, because it's something very personal to you. So why is that something that's personal to you?
With family, smaller communities, for me, it's more personalized. Let me start off by saying I think that caregivers and professionals that come into this journey have a purpose, have a meaning, and have a story to share. But what I found that works really well in smaller communities and more personalized is that attention that you do get, that it's not necessarily based off of, a larger structure of how things are going to work throughout a larger pool of communities, and things get individualized to ensure that resident that we're caring for has a more personalized plan, and that it's more continuity and more of a home-like environment for those individuals to be able to feel like they're living somewhere different, but it has that neighborhood feel or that home-like feel for them to reside in, instead of a larger community where it could be very overwhelming and they can get lost in the mix.
Yeah, I think that, and usually the smaller communities, about how many people are typically in a smaller community?
I think smaller communities average anywhere between, I've heard some as low as 8, but then what I would consider the smaller size would be maxed out at about 24 to 36 residents tops.
Yeah, I think that gives a good opportunity for people that want a smaller home-like community. Where I always think of like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, the song where everybody knows your name. It kind of lends to a smaller community when you think of it that way, because there's less residents, and all of the people that are working within that community really should know those residents more intimately than they would if they did have a larger community. Yes.
Absolutely. And in my experience, I've had where family members are calling in and, we would classify that future resident as a prospect at the time. And I'll listen to keywords that a family member might say, that they always stayed at home, they were always isolated, they never really socialized with a lot of people. And when you're working in a community that might service over 100 residents, first thing in your head is you're not thinking about the sale, you're thinking about the individual and what is going to most successfully help them to have a better
Mhm.
quality of life. So that's where you learn that maybe that larger community is not the right fit. However, we have a community 15, 20 miles up the road that we take care of 24, 30 residents. And I think your mother or
Mhm.
father would do much better in a place like that, where they'll still have that feel of what life has been like for themselves as they, what I call, graduate into a senior living.
Yeah, I think people, when they're considering senior living or um, they're considering senior living for a loved one, need to know what all the options are, and everyone has a different fit. I know that I personally wanted something really small for my dad. And it was something that was important to me, that he was in a smaller community. So that was the best fit for him. He was not a big social bug. He didn't want to like make new friends and hang out with different people. Amenities were definitely not something that he would have taken advantage of. So for me, that was really something that was important. He wasn't going to go to a pool. He wasn't going to do, you know, tennis, or what is it called now?
Oh,
Pickleball.
pickleball. Thank you. Yes.
Pickleball, yes. He wasn't going to do any of those types of things. So it's like when you're looking at an apartment, even as a younger person, and you see all the amenities, and the reality is you just want the apartment. You don't need the fancy pool. You don't need the gym. You don't need all these different things, which is what a lot of what you're looking at. You don't really need all those things. So you're able to pick a family first or a smaller community that may not offer all of those things, but they offer exactly what you need. So looking for a community and exactly what you need, I think, might be what's important.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's a very overwhelming process for people, as they go through trying to navigate the next steps for their loved one. And, sometimes the quickest decision takes, I think, that instant gratification or anxiety away from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at the nuts and bolts, to your point, and you're not focused on those amenities, it's more of, does that community feel like the way mom or dad had always lived, and the life that they enjoyed with having just a few neighbors, or were they very large social butterflies and wanted that larger community? But the family communities, to me, just, they have that unique service model that it's not right or wrong, it's a preference. But I think people that find that neighborhood feel in a family operated community, it's just such a different model that you really learn to appreciate, and your loved one feels like they're part of it as well. And you, as a family member coming in, feel like you're a part of the other residents' lives and the team members, because you're not dealing with a large pool of people.
Right, right. No, absolutely. So, real life ways that you would really feel a difference when walking into a community. So, what are some things, if you're just starting out and you're looking at communities, and maybe you're visiting smaller communities or you're visiting larger communities? So, what should families and seniors should really notice? What should they take note of when they're doing tours or visiting these communities in general?
So I think the personalized feel as they're walking through, you feel sincerity, and sincerity automatically, in that it's not this automated script because somebody's coming in. You want to look around, all parts of the community to ensure that it's really cleaned and well maintained, that you see team members consistently interacting with residents, not just about care, right? They're coming to us because they know that they need support and care, but what does the feel like? Do you feel the heart beat of that team member as they're interacting with the resident? Do you see residents well taken care of and meticulous, and that as you're walking through, and some residents do tend to leave their doors open? Do you see that their apartments look nice and tidy and clean, and that they're actively engaged in programming too? I think that that's very important part of it is, an adult child is wanting their mom or dad to have that interaction, even if it's to a smaller capacity. So sitting in a room all day is not really what might work for them. And you want to see that there's great, robust programming going on in a community as well.
Yeah. And I think it's important when you're walking through, when you're talking to someone, especially the person that's giving you the tour or taking you through the community, if they're speaking to the residents, they know their name and the resident knows their name.
Yes.
Just kind of getting a feel for the relationships that are built between staff and resident already as you're walking through. I think that's really important as well. So,
yeah. There was a provider that I know well of that one of their biggest things was when you wore your name tag on the left where your heart is, so that when you went to go shake someone's hand with your right hand, they would see your name right away. And it became like a very personalized conversation to greet someone by name. But I do agree with you that when you're walking through a community, I can share my expectation is that our teams do know every resident's name and their family members.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably their pets or their hobbies or, all the different things that make that person unique in their own right.
Yes.
I think that's important as well. And then a community that feels warm and comfortable. I know that for me, even when like I'm on vacation and I'm having a great time, you think, you want to go home and you just want to feel that safety net, that security, that warmth of home. These are seniors' homes, so they still need to have that same level of comfort in their communities.
Absolutely. I think it's important that you encourage families to bring personal belongings with them. Maybe that favorite rocking chair that's been in the living room for 50 years, and even though grandma may not have rocked in that chair, it's still something that provides comfort, or the wonderful pictures that they've had of the family throughout all the years and some of the tchotchkes that are important to them. And always having an area outside of their apartment where they can decorate it a little bit for seasonal and different ways that make them feel that it still resonates a home-like feel and setting to them. And I think decorating is very important too, that, you're really working towards that geographic in the area that you're on, and you're not just going to the next fades of life where it's grays and blues and whites and khaki colors, but it's more based on what is that town known for? What are they famous for? What would they like if this was just a place where all these neighbors can come together and feel really good about that environment? So I think being, when you are family owned and operated, you can make those decisions a little bit more in detail that makes people feel it's a great familiar setting.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that as well. And I know even with a smaller community, you're still having daily activities. You still have things to do. You have things that are of interest. So it's not that you would go to a small family owned community and then you just watch television. It really is. They're jam packed with activities. And also a lot of times there's social outings and all kinds of different things that are going on. So those are things you need to look at as well. So what kind of things are happening here? What kind of hobbies are the residents doing? That would be a good fit for my loved one.
Residents are always partaking in different outings, such as going to plays in the town, or getting them to go out to lunch and do some bus trips, take a ride down by the beach if it's applicable toward that surrounding, or a park. And then inside the community, we work a lot with volunteer services as well as our program directors to facilitate all different painting classes, dance classes, intergenerational programming where, they're looking at these kids as their grandkids or great grandkids coming in and doing cross intergenerational programming. We have trivia, and people always talk about bingo as the one fit that always goes on in the communities, but I think we do it more based on, different models of what it would be, so that we can hit the religious components and the spiritual components, recreational. So it's all different sorts of games and trivias throughout the day. And I think a big part too is making sure that post breakfast that we're doing some sort of exercise program for them to really help them in the morning to loosen up and feel good about the way their day is going to start. And then sometimes we'll do weekly group classes as well.
Yeah, getting those morning stretches in is so important, especially as we get older.
Yes.
I'm finding that more and more.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Sometimes I
Oh
feel
my goodness.
when I'm touring the communities, I feel a few of them are teaching me better moves that I could be doing. So it works out.
I know. Oh my gosh. And I know one thing that's becoming really popular are book clubs. Everyone is doing book clubs now.
Yeah, I think book clubs have, I think most of the generations still moving into the communities are ones that, individuals that loved books and would take books and read all day, and TV was not necessarily the big thing. So it's funny that, you may think, oh, well, we got to have that smart TV, but that's not what the residents are looking for. They're looking more for a social setting where they could all be reading the same book and sit down and review a chapter once a week, or talk about that one main character and what the motto was in the book and the agenda. Yeah. And I think it goes beyond the actual book. I think it's the part of the connection with another individual to really get to know them. And sometimes chapter 11 turns into figuring out that they went to school. They were just 3 different grade levels from one another. And it fosters a great relationship and interaction with each other.
TransMedCare long-distance medical transportation is a business built on care. Another satisfied customer writes,
"My family and I were extremely pleased with the professionalism, warmth, friendliness, and competence of the TransMedCare team. They were on time, patient, obliging, and kept in touch regularly during the ride from New Jersey to Florida. And they were very kind to my husband. I highly recommend this company."
To learn more about TransMedCare, visit the website at trans-medcare.com.
We at GoGo Grandparent are so excited to be joining this podcast. With just one call to GoGo, you or a loved one can request a reliable ride anywhere you want to go. No smartphone required. All drivers and vehicles are screened and monitored to meet your mobility needs and can accommodate impairment equipment, such as a walker or a wheelchair. Plus, GoGo membership offers concierge services on meals and grocery delivery, as well as home services, which can include maintenance on your home, cleaning, gardening services. To learn more or sign up for GoGo, call 1-855-970-6294 or visit gogograndparent.com/SeniorLivingGuide.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think that that's just so much fun. And I'll be honest with you, I love the fact that people are back to reading hardcover books.
Yeah.
Versus, and it's with all generations right now. The young folks are doing it. The older folks are doing it. Everybody's reading the hard covered books, or, the actual books, versus reading things online. I think that that's great. I love it. So going back a little bit towards print. So I'm all good with that. For sure. So the other thing is the staff. So clearly the staff is a huge part of what makes a family owned and operated and small family first community is really important. Is typically, you really want to ask about how long your staff has been there, and longevity is really important too, to kind of find out how long they've been there. I know when my dad was in a community, that staff had been there for quite some time, to the point where they felt like family. For me, they felt like family. They took care of my dad like family. I even had some of their cell phone numbers for if I needed help or whatever. I'm sure it was their work number, but I was able to get in contact with them at any time and they would text me back. And to me, that was a really big deal. I don't know if that's normal or not normal. But for me, that was and clearly I did not take advantage of that, where they may have just completely cut me off. But it's something that made me feel really good, knowing that I could get in touch with the nurse or the person that primarily took care of my dad, pretty quickly.
No, that is the expectation. It actually warms my heart to hear that your father was in a community that did offer that sort of additional support for you. I think families need that, and we take great pride in that. Longevity is something that's extremely important, and I think, being family owned and operated and family first, you have that ability to drive a little bit more of where people can grow within the company. And as you add on other communities or different, management positions, team members can continue to grow. So they do stay with you for a very long time. And I think they feel personal to that story that you're selling in as being family owned. So they take great pride in being able to say, yeah, I am one of those 16 team members that are part of that community, and I've been there. We've just celebrated several team members' 20th and 25th anniversary in some of our communities, which is a wonderful thing when you hear that someone was a lead cook in a community for 25 years. But when
That's
every
a big
resident,
deal.
it's a huge deal. And when residents are consistently saying this is the best food I've ever had, it's important. Now, the other piece that you shared, being that family member, it's hard to let go, right? It's hard for you to embrace someone else being that individual that's going to, or have that individual that's now going to give dad that smile that you thought you could always give them, and give the care that's needed. So I think that, with our team members, it is important to give that always available approach, as you shared, by giving a phone number, giving an email, having someone's direct contact, setting up weekly meetings to meet with them. It's not just about what the residents' needs are. It's also about what's going to give that family peace of mind, knowing that I put my loved one here and I need to feel confident that they're safe, they're secure. And if I can't be there to physically love them as much as I want to be, someone else is there to step in and support that side. I always share with our team that when I walk through our communities, I put my grandmother's face on every resident. And if it's not good enough for my grandmother, then it's not good enough for that resident. And I think that philosophy resonates a lot with our team members, because their goal is to look at, your father, your grandmother, and treat them as if it was their own grandparent as well.
Yeah, you shared with me a little bit before the podcast that your grandmother actually raised you. So you have a real heart
Yes.
For her, more than, everyone has a heart for their grandmother, but she actually raised you. So that's something that is really close to you. And that, to me, that's really important.
It is. My grandmother, anyone that knows me has heard about Marcel, my grandmother's first name. And I don't think words can describe how much she means to me. And she has since passed. We just celebrated 13 years since her passing, but she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. We took care of her at home and did that support, and it was a big lesson for me. We all deal with family dynamics when we go through these instances, but what I did learn is that my grandmother was a very social person, and had she been in a larger community or a smaller community, if you will, it would have worked out better for her. But instead, she was home where things were just being told to her of what to do and how to do it, and that was very challenging for me to see. So after her passing, I wanted to give back to seniors and try to give half as much as she gave to me with her love, care, and compassion, and do it for as many seniors as I can interact with. And that's been my mission ever since. And I hope I make her proud every day. That's really what I care about.
Yeah, I think a lot of us that get into what we do it because we've had something that has happened in our lives where we've really seen the need, and we really want what maybe our loved one didn't get. We don't want someone else to go through that. We want something better. I know that for me, that's a big part of somewhat of what I do every day, is because I saw that my dad, and, I think we all have some levels of guilt or what we would do differently, especially when we have someone that has dementia or Alzheimer's, because it is so complex to kind of maneuver through, where you want to make sure that someone doesn't have the same challenges as a caregiver, to go through making sure that their loved one is taken care of. So for me, at least, I think that that's why sometimes we do what we do, and we're inspired to do that based on our life experiences.
You're right on, Darlene. I think that it's most professionals in this industry. It's a service that you just feel connected to doing. So I think that every day you look at, how can I do something better? How can I make more impact? How can I provide someone with a better opportunity than I may have had a challenge with that previous situation or heard a story through a friend. And I think it's consistently providing even quality assurance inside our communities of looking at it every day to say, what can we do differently tomorrow that we didn't do today? And you get that impact, and you're able to make that impact, especially in family-owned and smaller communities. It just really makes sense, because when you are family first, that mission is driven inside your body and your heart every single day to just make a difference each day and learn from the day prior.
Yeah, I love that, family first. So just really quick before, we talked a little bit about what to look for when you're going through a community or when you're visiting a community, but what are some things to ask when you're going on an actual tour about that community?
I think what's important to ask is, and we talked about this a few moments ago, really understanding the longevity of the team, how long the leadership has been in place. Nowadays, I think it's important to also ask, how long have you owned the community? How long has the community been a part of your company? Because communities seem to be getting switched around a lot, and that's very concerning to families when they're learning the transition and turnover. I think it's important to ask to look at programming calendars and the meal schedules to make sure that that's items that are going to resonate to your loved one. Discuss, a lot about what makes the community personalized. Give me an example, learning from my mom, of what you're going to do to create her story in this community. A lot of times things become scripted, and I always say that it's important for a family to come in and feel that where their heart is at, and just ask the questions that are most sincere and natural for you. Again, when you're in a industry where you're caring for people, there's never a right question or a wrong question to ask. You're always going to ask what your heart is feeling in that moment. And I think it's important to take some of those critical items post your tour and find, did that really resonate with my loved one fitting in there? Or maybe I forgot that, but to walk around a community and just say, we have 3 meals a day, we have 6 activities a day, that's not what someone's looking for. Someone's looking for that human approach and connection.
Right. Absolutely. And then one thing I also wanted to ask you about, as we know, as seniors get older, some of their needs expand beyond what they typically come into an assisted living or senior living community with. So how can family style communities keep that connection strong even as residents are transitioning to that higher level of care?
So I think for us, and family first is that because you have a different service model, you have the extension to really offer additional ancillary services to come in and support their loved one. We're not looking to have someone move out. Of course, we all have to work within the state that we're operating out of. And, if something is beyond the scope of what we can offer, then we do have to talk to them about different transition plans. But there's a lot more out there these days to keep someone in as they continue to age in place, and hope that this will be the last home that they really have to transition into. So there's third-party services that can come in and offer additional resources and services to extend the quality of life for that individual and keep them comfortable and care for them as an extension to our wellness plans that we do offer. But our mission is always to let that resident live in the community until their time is up, and we take great pride in that.
Yeah, I think that is important, because people really don't want to hear that, we can take care of you now, but if your needs become greater, we can no longer take care of you, and you'll be making that additional move. You'll be
Correct.
having to make another really hard life decision for your loved one, and you'll be moving them to another place that's unfamiliar to them. Those are big decisions, and they're hard on that senior. I think moving into senior living, I know that that's something we've talked about on previous podcasts. when they move from their family home or their home they've had for a long time, or even just being independent, whether it's even a home they've ever even owned, going from having that independent lifestyle where they get up in the morning, they make their own coffee, maybe they run to the store, maybe they don't, maybe they do this, maybe they watch Dr. Phil, whatever the case may be. And that independence is now taken away from them per se, and they move into a senior living community. That's life altering for them. That's something that it can be emotionally hard for them to take or to deal with. So taking them from a community that they really love and enjoy and they're really happy with, and saying, oh, they can no longer meet your needs, we're going to have to make this other big move to somewhere brand new with new people, making new friendships, these different things. That can be just another bump in the road that really, I mean, as you're getting older, and especially at this point, they're probably quite a bit older, that's just something they should not have to do if not necessary.
I agree. We take great pride in making sure that we have resident lifestyle profiles where we really get to learn the history of that resident, the times they wanted to wake up, and again, being able to be nimble and make those decisions. We can serve breakfast at a later time. We don't need them to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, because that's what I always laugh and think of my grandmother. She used to always tell us growing up, I never leave my room until my face is on. And finally, when I was a teenager, I said, Grandma, what does that mean to you? And she said, it means my makeup and my hair must be perfect. And I still remember that. And that's something that we ingrain to our team members, that if that resident wants to get up at 8:30 in the morning and they're not ready, then we let them rest and we let them get the sleep that they need, because it's going to create a better day for them, and it's going to create a better day for you from caregiver burnout, right? So we do tailor a lot of our resident lifestyle profiles to do the best we can to keep things familiar and similar to what their home life was like. You're always going to have little twists and turns, but it's important to your point, to preserve their dignity and their independence as long as we possibly can.
I will tell you something, Frank. I would have loved your grandmother. She and we would have been BFFs. So I would have loved to have met her. She sounds like an amazing, I'm the same way. And I've used that expression more than once. I've got to get my face on. Yeah. So yes.
I always remember her. I still could see her in her living room in her house, laughing so hard when I finally said, I think I was like 14 or 15. I said, Grandma, what does needing your face to be on mean to you? And she thought it was the most hysterical thing. And then when she said it, I remembered, oh my gosh, that's right. Her hair was always perfect. Her makeup was always on.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Oh my gosh. She was probably one of these fabulous ladies that would go get her hair done at the beauty salon. Yep. And her hair would probably be perfect. Yes. Oh my gosh. I absolutely would have loved her.
Yeah, you would have. You would have gotten along well with her. And I always joke with my one aunt and say that my grandma would not have been happy if she was still here, because Nordstrom and Lord & Taylor were her two favorite stores to go to, and they don't really exist anymore. So.
Yeah, and not very many places they do not. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, anyway. So I do want to give you a moment, because Spring Oak is a family first senior living community, but you have several locations. So I want you to tell me just a little bit about Spring Oak before we sign off.
Absolutely. So Spring Oak, we've been around for over 20 years now. We have 14 open and operating communities, 5 additional that'll be coming online in the next 6 months that are we're doing renovations and they haven't been opened yet. But we are family owned and operated by an amazing family that lives based out in New Jersey. We have 7 communities in New Jersey. We have 6 in Virginia, and 3 that are operating right now in South Carolina, with 2 more that will be coming online shortly. But like I said from the start of it, and what we've been mentioning throughout the call, family first means everything to the owners. It is such a personalized mission of theirs to know what's going on in every community, to know all the leadership within the community, the frontline team members that are there making a difference, working tirelessly every day. From the CEO to myself to other, key leadership in the company and owners, we are traveling throughout the buildings, at a minimum once a month to see what's happening in the communities, dividing and conquering, to make sure that our team members feel heard and seen. But we just take pride on keeping it simple, that when you take care of the residents and you take care of the team, everything else will work out the way that it's supposed to continue to successfully own a company and continue to grow. But I'm very proud to work for them, and they're just an amazing group of individuals to be a part of.
Yeah, and I know that we here at SeniorLivingGuide.com, we're proud to work with your team as well. So you've got a great team over there.
Yes, we do. Very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we sign off that we maybe didn't cover that our listeners would benefit from?
I think we covered a lot of it, but I think for families, I can just share to follow your heart and really remember that when you're in that weak moment and there's a lot of pressure going on, as hard as that is to face when you are that individual, just make sure that it resonates to your loved one's story, and make sure that things aren't being scripted and that it feels natural and it feels sincere. And just know that there's a lot of caring hearts out there that really want what's best for you and your loved ones. And I know during the moment it's very hard, but there are some amazing people in this industry that really want to make a difference to support the longevity of our seniors. So.
Yeah, and you made a really good point at the very beginning of what you said. It can be very stressful, and I think sometimes people, when they start that initial search for their loved one, that they might make it quick because it is so stressful. So I think it's important to stop and take a breath. Absolutely. And don't rush through the process. Make the right choice, because if you make the wrong choice because you're trying to do it too quickly and you're not considering all the things that we talked about in this podcast, that you will end up making more than one move. And
100%.
Trust us, you would prefer not to do that. You would prefer not to do that.
You're correct. I always say to people, I know that this did not take you 6 minutes to come in, because it's been 6 months of you thinking, should I do it? Should I stop by that community? Should I visit? So there's no need to make a decision within a week. I think it's important to look at communities, feel that connection, feel that story, make sure that you can go home saying, Mom, Dad, Aunt, Uncle, I found a place that it's going to be different for you, but it's going to feel like as if you were still at home, just in a different way. But, when most people come to us when they're at that burnout moment, so to your point, it's like instant gratification. We want them to feel that heart and that purpose more so than just moving them in right away, because it's the quickest decision possible. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Good point. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Frank. We absolutely enjoyed this information that you provided. We know that our listeners will as well. If you enjoyed this podcast, please listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, multiple other options as well. We have over 100 podcast episodes available. Thank you for listening.